So Netflix gets plenty of hate for its movie library, but buried under the algorithm bait is a genuinely great run of crime movies most people scroll right past. Here are 10 picks, ranging from quiet Taylor Sheridan dramas to unhinged Zack Snyder zombie heists. Okay, let's get into it.
What's your location?
The Wind River Indian Reservation.
Now this one I really love recommending because I think it might be the best thing Taylor Sheridan has ever written, and he wrote Sicario and Hell or High Water, so that's saying something. He's directing here too, and the whole thing is set on a Wyoming reservation in the dead of winter. Jeremy Renner plays a tracker who finds the body of a young woman out in the snow, and Elizabeth Olsen plays the FBI agent sent in to investigate, completely unprepared for how brutal and isolated this land actually is. What I want to prepare you for is the pace. This movie takes its time. It's not in a hurry to get anywhere, but every scene is doing something, building the isolation, building the grief, and when it finally opens up, it earns every bit of the reaction it gets. Gil Birmingham plays the victim's father, and there's a moment with him toward the end that is one of the most devastating things I've watched in a long time. Renner and Olsen have this quiet, respectful chemistry too. Sheridan wisely never turns it into a romance. They're just two people who need each other to survive this case. Beyond the mystery, the film handles the reality of reservation life with real care and real anger, and it sticks with you well after it ends. The movie's called Wind River, and I cannot recommend it highly enough.
Excuse me, man. Can you give us another round?
Next up is something completely different, and I'll admit it's not an easy watch, but it is a genuinely confident piece of filmmaking. This is Anna Kendrick's directorial debut, and she's not messing around. It's based on a true story from the late 70s, a serial killer who actually appeared on a dating game show, and Kendrick plays the contestant who unknowingly matched with him. What impressed me most is the restraint. She never sensationalizes the violence in this movie. She pulls back, she lets ambient sound do the work, and she forces you to sit in the dread instead of gawking at it. It's really more interested in how women navigate dangerous men day to day. The smiling through discomfort, the silent signals for help that go completely unnoticed than in the killer himself. Daniel Zavato plays that role with this unsettling, disarming charm that makes the whole thing land harder. It's smart, it's quietly furious, and honestly, it's one of the more thoughtful true crime adaptations I've seen come out of a first-time director. This is Woman of the Hour, and it's proof that sometimes the scariest thing in a movie is how normal the warning signs looked.
He's be killing people without ever touching them.
I want to be upfront about this next one. The pacing is slow, and I mean genuinely slow. But stick with me because the two lead performances are worth the patience. Jessica Chastain and Eddie Redmayne both play completely against their usual energy here, and that restraint is really the whole point. Chastain plays a single mom nursing a serious heart condition she's hiding just to keep her insurance, and Redmayne plays the new coworker who becomes her closest ally at work, helping with patients, helping with her kids. Except hospital administrators start noticing a disturbing pattern of deaths, and it turns out this new friend has left a trail behind them at almost every hospital he's worked at. What actually got me is the systemic angle. This isn't really about one bad guy. It's about an entire system that kept quietly passing the problem along instead of dealing with it, which is honestly more disturbing than anything Redmayne does on screen. Director Tobias Lindholm keeps everything hushed, dim lighting, whispered dialogue, and I'll be honest, at times it mistakes slowness for depth, but Redmayne's final scenes earned every bit of the build-up. The movie is called The Good Nurse, and it's worth sticking with for the performances alone.
Let me guess.
Alright, we need a change of pace after that one, and this next pick delivers exactly that. I went in expecting a tired legacy sequel nobody asked for, and instead, this might be the best Beverly Hills Cop movie since the original. Right up there with Creed or Top Gun Maverick as far as legacy sequels that actually work. Eddie Murphy slides right back into Axel Foley, and he gets pulled back to Beverly Hills when his estranged daughter, played by Taylor Page, ends up tangled in a case involving corrupt cops. Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays a detective who becomes an ally, and Kevin Bacon is genuinely great as the villain, punchable in exactly the right way. Judge Reinhold and John Ashton are back too, which is a nice touch for longtime fans. What really sold me is that the nostalgia never feels forced. No lazy jokes about how much time has passed. It just lets the buoyant, playful energy of the original breathe again, helped a lot by a score that pulls directly from the 80s soundtrack. It's got genuinely well-shot practical chase sequences too, which is refreshing in an era of over-CGI'd action. The movie's called Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, and it's just a really fun, well-made piece of comfort viewing.
Your family, your home, how much do you need?
231.
Now this next one is Michael Bay doing what Michael Bay does, so set your expectations accordingly. This is not a subtle movie. Two brothers, adoptive brothers actually, attempt a bank robbery to pay for one of their wives' medical treatment, and when it goes wrong, they hijack an ambulance to escape, except there's a wounded police officer in the back who needs actual surgery mid-chase. The EMT taken hostage ends up performing that surgery with remote guidance while the ambulance tears through Los Angeles. Bay's drone photography here is genuinely dizzying, the editing is frantic, and at 136 minutes, it runs a lot longer than the Danish film it's based on, which was under 90. I'll be honest, the action is sometimes hard to follow, and it does start to wear you down a little by the end, but if you just surrender to the chaos, it's a genuinely exhilarating ride. Explosions, flaming cars, way more destruction than the $40 million budget should have allowed. Bay even throws in his usual cameo and a bit of comic relief to keep it from taking itself too seriously. The movie's called Ambulance, and it's maximalist filmmaking at its most unhinged.
What the?
This next one combines two genres I love separately, heist movies and zombie movies, and somehow Zack Snyder made it work together. It draws a lot from Romero's Dawn of the Dead, but the setup here is its own thing. A military transport crashes near Las Vegas, releases a zombie outbreak, and the government walls off the entire city. Dave Bautista plays a former soldier hired to assemble a crew and break into that quarantined city to pull $200 million out of a vault before a nuclear strike wipes the whole place out. I'll admit, the characters are thin. Most of them are defined in a sentence or two, and Bautista himself isn't given a ton to work with. But Garrett Dillahunt, Matthias Schweighofer, and Nora Arne-Zader are all having a blast in the supporting roles, genuinely stealing scenes. There's a zombie king ruling from a casino, an actual zombie tiger, and some genuinely creative sequences using zombies against themselves. It touches on some topical themes, walls, quarantine checkpoints, but only as flavor. It's not trying to say much beyond that. It's fun, it's unpretentious, and it knows exactly what it is. The movie is called Army of the Dead, and it delivers if you just want a good time.
We are closer. It's only a matter of time.
This next one is a total shift in tone. Cold, gothic, and dripping with atmosphere. It's set at West Point in 1830, and it opens with a cadet found dead, hanged, with his heart removed, which understandably makes the Academy want this handled quietly. Christian Bale plays a retired investigator brought in to solve it, and he ends up partnering with a cadet with sharp instincts and a poet's sensibility, played by Harry Melling, who turns out to be a young Edgar Allan Poe. That alone should tell you what kind of movie this is. Director Scott Cooper shoots the whole thing in this gorgeous grayscale, with occasional flashes of blue, and the mystery unwinds at a deliberate, almost literary pace. This is not a movie in a hurry. It's less about jump scares and more about a dread that creeps in slowly and settles in your chest. The Marquis family, the Academy doctor's kin, get pulled into the investigation too, and Poe develops a genuine interest in the doctor's daughter that adds a nice bit of humanity to all the bleakness. If you love moody, literary detective stories with a real payoff, this one delivers. The movie is called The Pale Blue Eye, and it's a beautifully bleak little puzzle box. Hey, quick pause here. If you're enjoying this list and you want more recommendations like it, hit that subscribe button and leave this video a like. It genuinely helps more than you think. And I put these out regularly so you never run out of good stuff to watch. Really appreciate the support. Okay, back to the list. 3 left, and they might be the best 3.
With the outbreak in America.
The one turning people into flesh-eating monsters.
Back to Heist again. This one's a prequel to Army of the Dead, following the safecracker character, here named Sebastian, in the years before that outbreak really takes hold. Matthias Schweighöfer both directs and stars, and he plays his character as a lovable, awkward weirdo who's obsessed with a set of legendary, nearly uncrackable vaults, inspired by Wagner's Ring Cycle. Honestly, a really fun detail. A viral video about his obsession catches the attention of a crew led by Natalie Emanuel's character, who recruits him to crack 3 of these mythic safes before retiring for good, all while the early signs of the outbreak creep in through news reports in the background. I'll be honest, the first hour is slow. It takes its time getting the crew together, and it never quite hits that fun Ocean's 11 chemistry you want from a heist crew movie. But once the actual heists kick in, they're genuinely well executed and satisfying enough to make up for the sluggish start. It's not essential viewing, but if you enjoyed the chaos of Army of the Dead, it's a fun little companion piece. The movie is called Army of Thieves, and the heist sequences alone make it worth the watch.
Let's go back to your place and you can take advantage of my poor judgment.
I depend on your poor judgment.
We're getting close to the top now, and this next one is genuinely one of the tensest movies I've seen this year. Austin Butler plays a bartender and devoted Giants fan in San Francisco during their 1998 playoff run, and the whole thing kicks off when his neighbor asks him to watch his cat for a few days. That's it. That's the favor that spirals into an actual nightmare involving Russian gangsters and a rival Hasidic crime family, played by Liev Schreiber and Vincent D'Onofrio, both convinced he knows where something valuable is hidden. Darren Aronofsky directs this with his Black Swan team, and the tension never really lets up for 2 hours. What surprised me is how funny it is in places. There's a Shabbos dinner scene with the grandmother, played by Carol Kane, that's genuinely one of the funniest and most tense scenes in the movie at the same time. The late 90s setting adds a lot too. No cell phones to bail anyone out, you're just stuck dealing with whatever's in front of you. Zoe Kravitz and Regina King round out a genuinely stacked cast. The movie is called Caught Stealing, and it might be the tensest ride on this entire list.
You're a guy with a gun. With a knife, you run away. So you charge with a gun, with a knife.
And here's my number 1 pick, and honestly, how could it be anything else? This is Martin Scorsese's 3.5-hour crime epic, and it follows Frank Sheeran, played by Robert De Niro, a World War II veteran turned mob hitman, and his deeply complicated friendship with Teamster leader Jimmy Hoffa, played by Al Pacino. I won't lie to you, it's a real-time commitment, but it earns every minute of it. The de-aging technology used to move these actors across decades works better than you'd expect, and watching De Niro, Pacino, and Joe Pesci share scenes together, all playing off decades of history with each other, is worth the runtime on its own. This isn't really an action-packed crime movie. It's melancholy. It's about regret, about spending a life as a passive instrument of other people's violence and slowly realizing what that cost you. There's a dry, dark humor running through it too, which is something Scorsese doesn't get enough credit for. Frank narrates the whole thing as an unreliable narrator, and Scorsese never hands you easy answers, he just leaves you sitting with the questions. The movie is called The Irishman, and if the runtime has kept you away, tonight's the night to finally sit with it.
Before you go, my next video is one you don't want to miss. I just went through Netflix again and found 15 movies so criminally overlooked they actually stopped me in my tracks. And I'm keeping that one completely spoiler-free. I want you walking in as blind as I did. It opens with what might be the most violent, exhausting action film I've watched in years. So if that sounds like your kind of night, go check it out next.